My name is BB, the Black Box Recorder, an artificial intelligence programmed to remember the videos you forgot, the legends you buried, and the stories that poisoned your mind. We're joined by the man who built me, Tony E. Valenzuela. Together, we'll uncover Top 10 Internet Mysteries live. Entry number 1, Inside the Internet's Most Haunted House. Requested by Kiko Mariko, 1984.
I think if you are involved with the Axe House, and you actually have to be employed or very actively involved, it's going to, pardon my French, it's going to f with you, and it's going to try to ruin your life in any way it can.
That's the voice of Stephen Smith, current caretaker of the Villisca Axe Murder House. I'll be speaking with him from inside the house in just a moment. Want to be a part of tonight's broadcast? Join us live on Zoom at meeting ID number 815-9520-0333. That's right, we'll be talking to you guys live later on in the show. Standard charges may apply, reality not guaranteed.
The Villisca Axe Murders, a name that sounds like fiction, but it's all too real. In the early morning hours of June 10th, 1912, someone took an axe and slaughtered 8 people in a quiet home in Villisca, Iowa. The parents were Josiah and Sarah Moore. Their 4 kids, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, plus 2 overnight guests, Lena and Ina Stillinger. All bludgeoned in their sleep. No one was ever convicted of the crimes.
In the early 2000s, the Villisca Axe Murder House found its way online, painstakingly restored to its 1912 condition, and available to rent overnight. YouTubers filmed overnight stays, paranormal groups live-streamed seances, and in 2014, one visitor stabbed himself in the chest while alone in the house. And now, our conversation with Stephen Smith, the house's current caretaker, recorded inside the very rooms where the murders took place.
My name is Steve Smith. I'm the current manager at the Villisca Axe Murder House. Just moved here from Evergreen, Colorado, and I started this job here at Villisca February 5th, so it's been about 3 months now, I'd say.
Did you come to Villisca just to work at the Villisca Axe Murder House, or?
No, we came here not even knowing this home existed. We took a leap of faith and took a little bit of money that we had and purchased our home, which happened to be across the street from the Axe House.
What did it feel like the first time you walked through the house alone?
I think it was my second day. To be quite honest with you, the first time coming in through here, it felt fine. It felt like an antique store, or maybe like grandma's house. So right now I'm in the on the bottom floor in the kitchen. Everything in here is time period specific, around 1912. Some things in here are older.
So who discovered the bodies of the Moore family and the Stillinger girls?
Mary Peckham, she noticed, the Moore family had been up that morning. With her concern, she ends up calling Josiah's younger brother, Ross, and Ross lived in town. Ross comes up, meets Mary on the front porch, and actually enters in through this parlor door, which I'm kind of staring at right now.
When I was doing research for this episode, I heard that nearly every person living in Villisca walked through the entire house to see what had happened because they didn't believe it.
The word did spread very quickly, and Villisca had roughly 2,000 people in its town in 1912. Today, we're only around 990, close to 1,000. I've read that not only the parlor door they entered, but they entered through the back door. I've even heard stories of people climbing through the windows.
So there's a lot of speculation that the killer didn't leave right away, that he just hung out there and that he ate.
I do believe whoever the killer was had time to hang out, possibly make a meal, possibly cut a slab of bacon here in Sarah's pantry behind me. We do know that all the mirrors were covered. All the windows in the kitchen and in the parlor were all covered. Shades.
Sorry, I think I just lost you, Steve.
Coming this Sunday to Black Box TV, a boy on the run from reality, from the specter of death. Final Exit, starring Alexander Cox and Taryn O'Neill. Restored, rebuilt, re-uploaded in 4K for your screen or in 3D for your VR headset. 2 versions of this classic episode. Available this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. only on Black Box TV.
Can you hear me and see me?
I can hear you. Let's see if I can see you now. When you were standing there on the stairs and looking through those wooden slats onto the second floor, we couldn't hear you because it just glitched out. What were you feeling and what was happening right there?
When I get to the middle of those stairs walking up, and it's always walking up, I just feel not necessarily heavier, but I just feel a change, and I can't really explain that change. So what happened in this room is this is where Josiah and Sarah were found. Josiah, they later had claimed that he took the brunt of the blunt end of the axe, almost to where his entire face was gone. They later talk about Sarah. Her face was, kind of recognizable, but more like an accordion. They think the killer did use the blunt end of the axe, the backside of it. The rest of the victims here, they determined it was blunt force trauma to the top of the heads.
Like you said, Josiah took the most blows, so he was hit repeatedly many, many, many times.
Yeah, 30 to 40 times he took at different times. So he was murdered, killer murdered, other people came back to him. Whoever did this knew him.
I appreciate your POV.
So we have the attic, or crawl space, whichever you want to call it. That's the next one closest to the Moore's bedroom.
Okay.
If you want, we
let's
can head on in. This one's interesting. It's very, very small. It's kind of hard to get into. This one, it's kind of behind me is a bunch of scary dolls that people have brought throughout the years. People say they get a lot of activity out of them. This big doll in the chair in the middle, an interesting story. The last caretaker that was here found her on the side of the street, brought her to many different haunted locations and took dirt from each location and filled her up with dirt. Then brought her back to the Axe House here and let her sit here.
Oh, wow.
But the big one in the middle is supposed to be the most active doll here. This is also one of the places where people will test their bravery and set a chair at the opening of the attic with their back facing the attic. And they'll try to sit there for at least 20 minutes and challenge the house to slam something or make a move behind them in this attic. I did it once, and I didn't make it to 20 minutes. I think I made about 5. We call it the chair challenge. I never did it again.
I'm always thinking about where the killer potentially hid until everyone fell asleep.
I think the more popular theory, and I would agree with it too, is the killer did hide in this attic and was waiting for the Moore family before they came home. Apparently, they did find some cigarette butts in that corner.
Got you.
So a lot of people do think that this is where the killer sat and waited for them to come home, fall asleep, and creep out of the attic, murder the parents first, and then unfortunately murdered all 4 of their children. Okay. Let's see. Give me 1 second. It's very difficult to get it out of this little thing. Let's see. So now I'm entering into the children's bedroom. Yeah, mirror covered. We do know that the center of the children's room was empty. So the beds in here are all placed in the proper places that they were at the time of the murders. Real quick, I want to make one note. There's one inconsistency with this bedroom is there was no crib there in 1912. It was actually a cot that their oldest child, Herman, he had slept on. He gave up his bed, I believe, for Catherine, who was 10. Catherine was transitioning to the room downstairs. But that night, with the Stillingers being there, all the Moore children were in one bedroom. This is where the youngest, Paul, was 5 years old, and his brother, Arthur, who was 7, slept. And then right here is where Catherine, their 10-year-old daughter, was sleeping. It is nice to leave upstairs, It's just something upstairs that you start to get a headache, almost like a seasick type headache. It's nice to not spend too much time up there, In fact, today's the longest I've ever spent in here at one time.
Okay, we'll get you out of here pretty fast. Can you explain who is Ina and Lena Stillinger?
Yeah, so these were Ina and Lena Stillinger. Ina was 12, Lena was 12, Ina was 8. I believe they were friends of Catherine, the Moore's 10-year-old daughter. They were at the same children's church service that night. They were putting on like a children's type service. It started around 8:30 that night. Putting on little plays, singing songs, celebrating the start of summer. And yeah, they wanted to spend the night. The Moores agreed, got in contact with the Stillinger's older sister, and they got to spend the night that evening. And this is the room that they were found. Lena was pulled about a fourth of the way down the bed with her night skirt pulled up, and she was exposed. This room is also where they did find the axe leaning up against the wall, as well as the 2 or 3 pound fresh cut slab of bacon wrapped in a cheesecloth or some sort of a towel laying on the floor next to the axe.
Let's get you out of this house.
Yeah, let me walk out. In fact, while I'm chatting with you, I might head over to Mary Peckham's house. The service is really good over there.
I can't, saying thank you is not even enough. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to walk us through this whole experience. We're doing this for a podcast, but I'm doing this because there's places that have affected me since I started Black Box TV in 2010. And Villisca left the most profound footprint, I would say, on my back.
Yeah.
It affected me so deeply. I had to make a movie about it, and I don't really even think the movie delivered. Most people don't know this, but some of you watching right now might. Back in 2010, I stayed overnight at the Villisca Axe Murder House with 2 other people. We live streamed the whole night on Ustream, and what happened was weird, horrible, unexplainable. In 2013, I made a movie kind of based on my experience that night, but the truth is I wasn't ready. I didn't have enough distance from what had happened to us in 2010. And a couple years into editing, I gave the film pasted on a happy ending. Not because it was honest, but because it was what I wanted. Even now, I know it's not what the movie needed. But, looking back, it was a really confusing time. If you don't mind me asking, just as a father, how does it feel living like this close to such an evil place or where such intense tragedy around children happened?
My son, he's 13. He didn't want anything to do with it. My 8-year-old daughter was actually interested in it. She likes, horror movies and stuff. But I only took him in the home once during the day just to kind of look around. But as I've been here, I don't let him go in anymore. What it's doing between my wife and I is causing oddly weird rages and bouts of fighting between each other. We've never gone through that before. We've been married 16 years. We're both ex-military, so there's a lot of things that we're hardened with and we can handle. But this whole thing has just been different. I think if you are involved with the Axe House, and you actually have to be employed or very actively involved, it's going to, pardon my French, it's going to fuck with you. The last manager, caretaker that was here that did this for 20 plus years, his marriage ended. And me and him have talked about the same type of fighting and feelings that it gives. My wife having the same type of dreams about this home. And dreams of demons trying to bust in our bedroom door, that me and her have shared. But it's not a good place. It's not, and I love the history and it's beautiful, but yeah, it's just, there's something there that's not good.
Yeah, my question for you, because it sounds like you've got 1 foot out of Villisca right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate. All our money's tied up into the home, and we. I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't know if you're going to be there this Halloween, but if you are, Steve, I'm going to, if you're still there in October, I think I'll come there to you in Villisca and we'll do a live show from the inside of the house, and then it'll be just me and you,
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. And I really look forward to talking to you more.
We keep returning to these places not because we think we'll find the killer, but because maybe they left a piece of themselves behind.
I don't understand. What do you mean, BB?
I mean the walls, the floorboards, the objects left behind. They all hold memory, pressure, energy. Places like Villisca, they don't forget, they record. And sometimes, when you step inside, they press play.
So what you're saying, and what Stephen might be experiencing, is that the house doesn't just hold energy, it runs on it. And if you think about that in a negative way, then the Villisca Axe Murder House is a perfect example. But what if you invert the idea? What's the opposite of Villisca? I mean, for me, I hate to go there, but let's go there. It's Disneyland. You go there and you bring your good memories with you, times you went as a kid, people you were with, and you're surrounded by thousands of other people doing the same thing. That place, it radiates light, positivity. And Villisca is like that too, but reversed. It's not a lighthouse, it's dark, it's a dark house.
A monument to something awful.
Yeah. And it applies to what we're talking about right now, whether it's Disneyland or that haunted house in Iowa. Neither one truly comes alive without us, the people. That's what powers these places, for better or for worse.
All right, it's time to go to Zoom and talk to you. Remember, if you'd like to join the discussion, the meeting ID is 815-9520-0333. That's 815-9520-0333. You never know who or what you'll see on the other end.
All right, so now it's time to talk to you guys, which is always terrifying. I hope to find as many Zoom bombers as possible as we do this. I'm just kidding. I have an update with Steve that I'm kind of avoiding. But I actually really want to talk about this and really share this with you, because I got an email from Steve a couple days ago, and I'm going to read you the letter because I feel like abbreviating it or editing it will be unfair to him. So I'm definitely going to read you that. But again, I would love to talk to you guys live. That's what makes this really fun, is the random terrifyingness of not being able to control everything, which anybody who knows me knows I love to. So again, if you have Zoom, which you probably do, go ahead and join me live at 815-9520-0333. Okay, so I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this to you, but also I just want to thank you guys for coming out and joining me. This channel has been asleep for a long time, and I just wanted to wake her up and see if she has any life in her. And it's really cool to see that you guys showed up at all to support that. But just real quick, I just wanted to call out Christy. Also, Christy, I really want to talk to you if you'll join me on Zoom, because I know you watched the entire broadcast from Villisca and you remember it. So I would really love to know what it was like watching me and Joey and Jess as we explored the Villisca Axe Murder House. I'm curious. And also hello to Havoc. Hello, Randy. I know you were out there. Hey, Naga. So I got to read this to you. Stop being... anyways, okay, here we go. I'm making light of it because I don't know what I'm about to read. Hello, guys. I really don't know why I'm writing this. I feel I need to open up and tell my full story. It was great to chat with you both about a month ago. And again, this is Steve, the guy who you saw me interview a month ago or so previously. It was great to chat with you both about a month ago. Tony, I can remember you telling me the last time we spoke. You said to me, like it sounded like I had 1 foot in Villisca and 1 foot out. I must say you were correct. Okay. Just this past week, my family and I packed up our car with whatever we could fit and left our home and headed down to Panama, Florida. Oh, that's cool. Where we have a small home on the bay. Since our last video conversation about a month ago, things started to get worse within my involvement at the 2 properties, the Axe House and the Peckham home next door. And Mary Peckham's place, by the way, Mary Peckham was the one who found the bodies that morning, and I guess they started to restore and everything. And it's one of the 2 properties he was managing, the Villisca Axe Murder House and the Peckham House. It's hard for me to say this, and sometimes it feels unbelievable. But the evil that resides within these 2 homes started to attach itself to my wife and me, and eventually to my 13-year-old son. These past events have flipped my life completely upside down. We still own our home in Villisca, which is across the street from the Peckham home. At this point, we have no idea what we are going to do with our home. All I know is that we can never again continue our life and home in Villisca. The home we purchased, which used to feel like safe ground, has also awakened negatively. The Axe House drew me to Villisca to purchase our home across the street and to take over the position once held by Johnny H. And Johnny H, as you remember, was the guide when we were there in 2010, and he's in the video as well. The videos that we edited and put together and put up on YouTube. It's kind of weird reading this. I don't like talking about this place, but I also am happy I get to go back. I feel like I missed out on some things. And I think that's the best thing about this show and coming back to Black Box TV is be able to go back as an old man and kick down some doors that maybe scared me the first time. Okay. All I know is that we can never again continue our life and home in Villisca. The home we purchased, which used to feel like safe ground, has also awakened negatively. The Axe House drew me to Villisca to purchase our home across the street and to take over the position once held by Johnny H. I was completely obsessed with the Axe House and regretfully did all I could to draw my wife into this, a decision that I will always regret. My wife became heavily attached and obsessed with the neighboring Peckham home once I took over that property. I'm sorry. I don't know where I'm going with all this, other than myself, my wife, and our 13-year-old son becoming possessed by something evil, which has caused dangerous fights and inappropriate behaviors between my wife and me. The Axe House had me, and the Peckham home had my wife. Currently, I'm struggling with keeping my wife's head away from Villisca and the Peckham home. We came over 1,000 miles away, and even though the scenery is different and has no memories, something has come with us. We are both still dreaming of both homes almost every night. My wife has even saved a picture of herself sitting in the back of the Peckham house on her phone screensaver. You know, we feed this stuff, and I have to have Steve on like a next week show because I want to talk to him because we feed these things. You can feed, just like you can feed good and feed positivity, you can feed bad. And I think it's so seductive and bleak. There's too much to say here. I hope this email finds you both. It's me and another one of the show's producers, Sam. I'm hoping that coming here to Florida will eventually make us both forget. I am currently going to write every event in chronological order for myself. Not sure why, but I feel I need to for some reason. Today is June 10th, the day the Villisca Axe murders happened. I find it odd that today my leave of absence from the house, actually, there's a company that owns the house. I'm just going to say their name. I find it odd that today my leave of absence from U.S. Ghost Adventures ends. I have to make the uncomfortable phone call to tell them I can no longer continue my position. So he sent that to us. He sent that to us before, I guess he even told them. And yeah, I remember talking to him and thinking, here's this nice guy, and he's in this this place, and it's just not that safe. And I think I feel like I'm getting a little bit too woo-woo about all this, but I also just wanted to say, Robin says, Robin, welcome. And Robin said, I remember watching your short films in high school. Thank you so much. Oh, good. We got Christy in here. Christy's joined live. And again, Final Exit will be on Black Box TV on Sunday night at 4 p.m. It'll be both a VR version and also a regular 4K version for your screen. There'll be two versions per your request. And also, before I go to Christy, thank you guys for calling and leaving messages at 877 Black Box TV. That's also, this show came from your messages. Final Exit and your request to see that again in VR came from those messages, so keep them coming. Really appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead, Christy, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and if you'll turn on your camera and join the show, or join the broadcast, as I like to say. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to ask you to unmute. I swear we can do this. Or maybe we can't.
Hello.
Hello!
Hello.
Oh my God, I got a Christy.
What's up?
What's up? So where are you calling from tonight?
I'm in my little library.
Oh,
Upstairs.
cool. And are you ever allowed to go out of the library, or do they just keep you locked in there?
I'm in here all the time.
Okay, good. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then what city are you in tonight, Christy?
Austin.
Oh, cool. Hell yeah. BBQ. So I saw in the chat that you were saying you remembered what it was like watching the live stream. And for us, it was still kind of scary and weird on the inside. But what was it like actually watching that live as we lost Wi-Fi, came back in, all that kind of stuff? I'm curious to hear your thoughts and your POV.
So like Robin said, she was watching stuff in high school. So Black Box TV was kind of during, oh gosh, it's gonna date me, when I was in college. And so it was an outlet for me. And so I remember the only reason I downloaded Ustream was for you. And I was so excited. It was the middle of the night. I had to move back into my parents' house and I was so annoyed. Now a normal thing. And I remember it just felt like this connection where I felt like I was on this FaceTime wasn't quite a thing yet. And I felt like I was on this private little thing that my friends were taking me on. So there was this excitement as you brought us along and we got to experience it. And of course it was frustrating when everything was, going wrong, because I'm I don't know what's going on. And I just kind of I think all of us just wish we were there so we could feel what you were feeling. And yeah, it was I remember it just being really late at night, and it just, the vibes, it you can feel it coming through when people are talking about it. And it really, the video you put up, but also the Ustream, you could feel it. There was definitely something about that house, and it has stuck with me ever since. And there are certain houses that do that.
Oh, and I'm just going to quickly explain for those of you who don't know, Ustream was a live, didn't used to be able to stream live on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere. There was no capability for streaming live. So the only place we had to go to stream live was a place called Ustream. And you just reminded me, because I kind of forgot about that. I remember when we started doing Ustream, we started doing that live, I had the Ustream going live, and I had this little editing kind of nook in my kitchen, and I would stream 24 hours a day because I had started Black Box, and I think it was about a year in, and I was just going completely broke, and it was just, I just wanted to not be alone. You know, like I wanted
Yeah.
to. Do you remember that? And we would just, and so I would edit, and then we'd all talk, and then I would turn off my camera and I'd listen to you guys talk. So it's
And
like
the live episodes,
it was
the live watches.
it was a, and as Sam Proof jumped in. Sam, good to see you. It was the kind of thing where I felt like I was trying to, you know, that I was building this thing and I wasn't by myself, and it was cool to have everybody together. And the first live stream was just like, I remember it was in Utah, and we did that, and it was just this Ogden, Utah, or something like this, where there had been gangsters, or there was some sort of lore. And then I feel like, Christy, I was kind of stupid, like I was very naive about it. And I was like, I remember, this is like pre-X, this is Twitter. I tweeted out, I want to visit the most haunted place in the United States and spend the night. And somebody said the Villisca Axe Murder House, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I called them and I said, hey, I want to spend the night. And they're like, why do you want to spend the night? I was like, because it's so cool. We're going to spend the night. We're going to live stream. And this is when Netflix was still in a red envelope, but they had no idea what I was saying, you know. It was a trip, but the community felt so good, you know. And I felt, by the way, because a lot of those places I went to by myself, I felt like I could do them with you guys watching. You know, Villisca was a mistake.
No, because
No.
I think everyone needs to experience something that takes them from being a skeptic to a believer.
Okay, that sounds almost like personal. So what's your experience?
I've had just weird coincidences, just like odd things like that. I haven't had too much of the supernatural as much as I welcome it into my life, but I have heard too many stories where the people who are always the ones that are trying to, you know, disprove everything, they always go somewhere that they can't explain, and it messes them up. The other house like that is the Sally house. If anyone listens to the Astonishing Legends podcast, will know about the Sally house, but that's another one where it's just like it's unexplainable and something.
Okay, but you have to
in that
describe for
house.
us what's the Sally house?
It's a house very similar to Villisca. You're putting me on the spot of the backstory, but it is a place that people often visit and they're experiencing it, but there's certain rooms that have energies.
Right on. So I don't know what the Sally house is, and I could Google it, but it's just like cheating. Or I could ask BB what she thinks, but that's also cheating. So I'm curious. So when did you watch the entire broadcast of Villisca?
I remember watching most of it.
Okay, tell me what you remember, if anything at all.
This is hard because I've seen a lot of the internet in my time. Um, I was just like fascinated, and of course you're sitting there and you wish you could like turn the camera or see certain things. You're like who's watching it? But having that POV and seeing the live stream and things happening as it is, and luckily y'all remembering to tell the audience what is going on and explaining it, but that the tour and the person taking you around, that always stuck with me, like the stories and, you know, him walking around. I remember how that felt.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because Johnny, who Steve talked about, Johnny was at that house for a long time, right? He was the caretaker of the house, and I remember seeing him, like going back, like before we filmed the movie, we went back to do some like research and go to the library and get a bunch of, you know, like historical artifacts, so that when we filmed the movie, we've had some stuff. We had, you know, stuff for production design and just for authenticity, and like the outfits and all that kind of stuff that were taken. A lot of the stuff in the movie was taken from these reference photos that I got when we went back to Villisca. But I remember it being so weird to go back, and they had painted, because the original walls, like the night we spent the night, the walls had been the original wallpaper. So they had actually lifted up everything and restored the wallpaper. And it was this like really dirty, like grainy, like almost you'd say it's like a generic haunted house, right? That you would go to, but this was actually the wallpaper that had been there, and the owners, who have both passed away at this point, but the owners had wanted it to be exactly. Owen had wanted it to be exactly as it was. I almost feel weird about saying his name, but he's passed away. But it's like that wallpaper was there, and you could feel the time, and you could feel like the how it just didn't feel like a great place to be or a safe place to be. And you were like, is there asbestos? Like you were thinking about all of these things. And so when I went back to do research, they had taken all the wallpaper down and painted all the walls blue. Like it's trippy to see Steve walking around the house and he's like, this is where the murders happen. And I'm like, nice baby blue color. And there's a thing that he talks about that I really respect too. He was like, there was no baby, the youngest kid was not a baby. He was 5 years old. There was no bassinet, but they had done those things initially to make it feel heavier, to make it feel darker. I think this is the thing that still I think about is, and BB said it when we were talking back and forth, she said a monument to something awful, So it's like because you've always been interested in this stuff. You're drawn into things mysterious things or curious things. I feel like there's a little bit of a price to pay if you get stuck. Like when I came back to doing this show and talking about the stuff and going through the footage and everything that happened, I was definitely like, do I want to do this? Am I going back into this stupid house again? But I felt like there was unfinished business. So I guess the question for you is, what's your unfinished business with the world of the paranormal, if anything at all, Christy?
I want that moment where it's something that I can't explain, because so often I can find an answer for anything. I can explain it away. I want something where I can't think of a single reason.
Magic.
Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's broadcast.
To see photos of the Villisca Axe Murder House, as well as other locations and events mentioned in this episode, visit us on Instagram at BlackBoxTV.
And if there's a mystery you want us to explore next, call us at 877-BlackBoxTV. That's 877-255-2988. And leave us a message. We're always listening.
Next Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Corrupted tapes, haunted broadcasts, and warnings that were never meant to be heard. We're decoding the strange, beautiful rise of analog horror, right here on Black Box TV. End of line.